The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. Today's guest and their company are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial.
So before we talk about what the business is like today, can you take me back to kind of what it was like when you guys took over? So that might be something along with what, it doesn't necessarily have to be, hey, this is the volume of customers we had. Mm-hmm. It's more of, hey, where was the location? What was the name? Okay. What was of the branding and what it had been doing up until that point?
Gotcha. So then in 2018, we were a single location company, and we were Big Country Coffee. We're now Statesman, and we were just kind of rocking and rolling at that point. So I mean, I guess I don't know, that's what it looked like. I mean, we had one location, and I don't know, that's what it looked like.
So what made you guys want to buy that business?
Okay, so Courtney, my wife, had been working at Big Country Coffee for a few years up until that point.
Okay.
And so she, for about most of 2017, she was managing Big Country Coffee. And the owners approached us and asked if we would be willing to buy the company. And I guess we talked about it, and through a lot of discussion with ourselves and the previous owners, we were able to work out a deal. And so her being there was, you know, you're not going into a business blind. So we had an idea of the day-to-day operations. We had an idea of what it looked like and what it would take to operate, looking from a managerial lens, not necessarily a business owner lens. And so that gave us a little bit of insight. And based on that, we thought that it would be viable and a good opportunity.
Yeah. What were the things that you wanted to keep the same, but what were the other things that you wanted to change and kind of make it your own?
Yeah, so Big Country Coffee had a really good foundation going in, and so we wanted to keep the overall foundation, but we wanted to make a few improvements here and there, and those kind of were focused a little bit on like the consistency of maybe inventory and some more training structure and some of that internal structure that kind of helps you flow a little bit better or more efficiently. And so we wanted to keep what we were doing, keep what was working, keep the menu, keep the recipes, and just try to implement changes that made us a little bit more efficient.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine it's super common for someone who's working at a business to be like, hey, I'm the low man on the totem pole, but I could see how you could be doing this a little bit better, how you can do this a little bit more efficiently, how this could be better systems. But rarely those work out. Like there is typically a reason for some of the frustrations. However, it sounds like you guys were kind of that, like, it was a good opportunity, it built into something great, and you guys actually were able to kind of carry through. Is that accurate?
I think that, yeah, I suppose you can say that that's accurate, because we've owned it for 8 years. And so we went into it with, we liked the platform a lot. We thought that it was something that we could duplicate or replicate. And so we just knew that it needed a little bit of those structural elements. And so that's kind of what we focused on. And that got us to kind of where we're at. So we knew we wanted to expand right away, and we knew that we wanted to roast our own coffee. Okay. Right away. So in the beginning, we were wholesaling from another roastery. And so part of our long-term goal, vision was to make sure that we were definitely roasting our own product. Yeah. And controlling what that looked like. And so that was pretty big. So we pretty much, like right away, we immediately moved into that direction of, okay, well, what would roasting look like? And that took us kind of on a wild goose chase, learning things that we didn't know as far as like zoning for coffee roasting. And so we're not, the Buffalo Gap Road location, their zoning didn't allow for coffee roasting. So coffee roasting is considered food manufacturing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I believe we were zoned or are zoned for neighborhood retail over there. So we need to be a few levels above that zoning in order to roast. And so that was interesting to learn. It was kind of a curveball.
Was that what launched you guys into going ahead and expanding to another location, or?
It definitely expedited that process.
Gotcha.
So then we started looking for a location in town that would allow us to both have a coffee shop and a roastery. And so, which made us look at the map and see, well,
It really makes that map look small.
It tightens it up quite a bit.
Yeah.
And so we were actually out looking at real estate, commercial real estate with a friend of ours that was just down the road from our Treadway location. And we drove by and we saw that it was available for rent. We just said, hey, can we pop in there and take a look? And so we were with them and their realtor, and they said, sure. So we just swung in there and we walked in the door and we said, we pretty much were like, hey, should we do this? And we said yes, and then we, I think that day or the next day, we reached out to see if we could land a rental.
Really?
And so we did, so the zoning there allows us to have both the coffee shop and the roastery.
Okay.
And that's kind of why it may seem like a random place for a coffee shop on Treadway there, but kind of our idea going in there was
you can roast there, but if you can also sell a couple of cups of coffee, it kind of makes sense.
Yep. Let's have a coffee shop that'll cover our costs to get a roastery started, and from there we'll do our best to grow, and that's kind of what put us in that location and what got us there.
For it being, as you're kind of calling it, like thinking like it's a random spot, it's the spot where, I don't know, half of Abilene drives to work every day. And
Yes.
it is shocking that Buffalo Gap has pulled nearly as much of this type of business. Whereas, a lot of people drive down Buffalo Gap during a day for work day, don't get me wrong. But Treadway is the one that's backed up constantly. And you guys have no shortage of line over there. And it shocks me that you're like the only shops over there trying to even attack any of that market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Treadway is a unique road to be on. It's definitely commuter road.
Yeah.
And it's a great commuter road Monday through Friday, and then it dies down a little bit on the weekends. And so that's reflective in our hours of operation there. And so, but it connects north to south, and it's a great road to be on, and we love being there, and we have really great regulars that are there and keeping our lines steady. And so, yeah, we're happy to be there.
So when it came to that roasting business, when did you decide to not only supply your own shop for it, but also start supplying some others?
I think that was just organically. We go in there, we open the shop, we get the roastery running. There was a learning curve to the roasting side of things. Okay. And so we knew we had to make sure that we were going to produce a quality product that we could stand behind before we even introduced it into our company. Right. And so that took several months to make sure that we were able to develop coffee profiles and roasts that were aligned with what we wanted to do.
And build a consistency.
Yeah. We don't want to be burning beans quite literally.
Yeah.
And
or cutting off suppliers before you can safely stabilize your product for a couple months.
Yeah, running out of beans and then running down to the grocery store to try to serve up a gourmet coffee. So just through the process of that, we developed a product that we could stand behind, and then just random shops or individuals would reach out that were in the coffee community that knew what we were doing, and just kind of asking about the product and if we would wholesale with them. And so it just kind of went that way in the beginning, and it still just kind of goes that way.
About how many do you supply for?
Locally, I think there's probably 5 or 6, and then
coffee shops, wholesale kind of community.
Just mostly coffee shops, okay. Or just individuals that are related to coffee, obviously.
Why have you never kind of broken into kind of the more cliche coffee shop trope of the third space? Very much of the culture and what made coffee shops kind of popular was kind of like essentially what everyone's kind of chasing after, the friends aspect. You know, like that's the spot where you meet, that's the spot where you do your homework, you have business meetings, you have kind of a third space that you like to go and hang out at and kind of occupy. That kind of was what built the coffee industry a bit and kind of differentiated it from other kind of brands. Why have you not kind of gone in that direction?
Yeah. So we kind of did a little bit. When we opened our Treadway location, we did not have a drive-through, and it was indoor seating only.
Oh, okay.
And so what happened was COVID hit, and that location closed down. There was, in the beginning of COVID, there was some people, we were pretty concerned about things, and there were different rules coming down from the governor, and we kind of fell in that category of maybe needing to close. And then additionally, in the beginning, there was a pretty sharp decrease in traffic. And so that it cut the sales down enough to say, well, maybe we'll just close the coffee shop side of things, focus on the roasting. It keeps people out of the building, keeps, at the time, kept us able to operate the other shop more effectively. And so but prior to that, we did have the indoor seating. And then after closing for COVID, we decided to put in the drive-through on the side of the building. We reopened as drive-through only. And our customer base told us that they preferred our drive-through setup. And so we could see that in just our numbers and our customer feedback. It's interesting because we would get a lot of customers that they would park, get out of their vehicle, come in, get their coffee, and then leave. And not a lot would elect to stay. Now, the indoor seating area was relatively small, but we would very rarely have people sit down at the bar and drink their coffee. It was mostly park, come inside, get what they needed, carry on. And we would notice a lot of mothers come through with their children. They'd have to park, get the whole crew out, and go through that. And sometimes that can be challenging.
Nothing is worth that. Nothing is worth the turnaround of a 5-minute.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, it can. And that may sway you from stopping even.
Sure.
And so it definitely makes the drive-through more convenient. So just through the way we operate, we're very familiar with the drive-through platform and how to operate the drive-through platform. And so we specialized in it before opening Treadway, and then we kind of refined it a little bit more after we added the drive-through at Treadway, and kind of listened to what our customer base wanted from us. And so that's kind of why we've stayed away from the third space cafe style coffee shops.
What I'm kind of like noticing is that customer base is just kind of just disappearing. Like, there's a place for it for sure, but most of those places have for sale signs within a couple of years. And what you guys have done is not only occupy and kind of be able to compete with some of these other shops that have kind of been more established, you're growing, it seems. You are actually able to expand, and I think it's very much of you guys have been really smart about actually listening to your customers and actually moving and changing with the way that people are actually purchasing and they're actually experiencing your product. There's not a question there. I'm just kind of like fluffing your pillows on that one. That's kind of what we're absolutely needing. So kind of on the big chains, you guys have been there since, you said 2018 is when you purchased?
2018 is when we purchased the company, yes.
So that was kind of before Buffalo Gap became completely inundated with every chain, coffee, or drink place imaginable. Mm-hmm. How have you guys felt or thought about how your area for your flagship store, are you guys still able to compete? What are you guys noticing since the change in kind of the way that the town's been growing?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the answer kind of is layered on that. So when you talk about additional coffee shops or drink options coming to Buffalo Gap Road, it also aligned with the Buffalo Gap Road construction.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting because you hear about shops coming to town and you say, okay, well that could be a challenge. But prior to the announcement of the chains that I think you're talking about on the road construction had already been going on, and so we had already seen a massive challenge already in business with just competing with
The construction.
And honestly, the crews were great. They did everything they could to keep us open. They rarely had to block our approach in and out. I mean, they really did a great job. And so, like, a lot of respect for them. Kudos to them. Grateful that they really kept us open and accessible that whole time. But it did drive the business down a lot, like quite a bit. Like it was, I think that some people might say that it was devastating. And so we were already just trying to manage that. You know, you cut the customer base off. They elect to take different routes, and it was a multi-year deal.
Yeah.
And so people's behavior patterns change, and we have to find answers as a business owner just to that. And then towards the end of the road construction is when some of the corporate chains that you speak about open their doors. And so now you're trying to build your customer base back up, right, while competing with, you know, a brand new option in town, which can be very exciting. And I think that if you go by some of those, or maybe one of those newer options, you can kind of see people are really excited about that.
Correct.
And you can kind of see that in their Chick-fil-A style lines,
yes,
wrapped around their building.
Again, I will go ahead and add, there is nothing worth that. If I ever see a line of more than 10 cars, I'm like, it can't be that good. This cannot change your life enough for you to trade 30 minutes so that you can wait in that line.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, people enjoy those locations, and they enjoy doing or that cup of coffee or that drink that they're getting. And so, having a line wrapped around the building from the business owner side is desirable. That's as long as you can manage it, which is challenging.
Sure.
That's desirable. When that line ends up being a heavy percentage of your previous customer base, it can be challenging.
Yeah. Would you say that you've recovered since the construction? Back to numbers that you may have seen a lot more often before?
So the short answer is no.
Really?
But it's a little bit more complicated than that. So when we look at it as a whole, we look at the run up into the construction period, and prior, like right up to that, was the COVID stimulus, and so people had a little bit of extra spending money, and we did notice that during that COVID stimulus period, we had a decent amount of growth, thankfully and luckily. Not everybody was able to experience that. And then the road construction hit, the numbers went down quite a bit. They started to come back up towards the end of the road construction. And then when, I would say, when one of the new chains opened, our numbers went back down to, I guess, what our low was during that road construction time frame.
Wow. And
we've sat at those numbers ever since.
Really?
And so it's actually really interesting to look at it, especially like from just a numbers standpoint. You know, if you're looking at, one of the chains was already here in town, and then they went south of us, and our customer base, it wasn't obvious that our customer base was excited about that. In fact, I would say that our customer base has always kind of opted to come to us over
because you're not them.
Because we're not them. And then one of the newer chains, I would say, and I think you could argue, that our style of coffee is closer to their style of coffee. And they're new and they're exciting and it's something different. Their base coffee of what they offer is fundamentally different than what we offer if you're getting a latte. And so the flavor profile is going to be quite different, and that can be exciting. And I mean, I get that, something new and exciting. And then of course you're competing with billion-dollar companies, or the investors in those companies are private equity companies that have $1 trillion under management. And so our bank account doesn't have $1 trillion in it. Not that theirs has $1 trillion, but when you have an investor that has that kind of capital, that kind of power, it can be challenging to compete. I mean, it is challenging to compete.
Do you think it's just also because we have had an influx in the southern part of town? We have had an influx of people who are not from Abilene. And so whether it's people who came here through DIAS, through universities, through job opportunities, some of these larger chains that come in typically appeal to the people who are, oh, well, that's what I used to have at home.
Yes.
And so, and I think that it's a great thing to kind of attract people when we have newcomers to town. I think the chains are great for them to be like, oh, they do have things here. But after a certain point, you either adopt something that's local and celebrate something that's local, or you kind of just say, hey, I have what I used to have, but like the light version. So I don't know, it's one of those where I go back and forth with my own relationship on those kind of brands where it's like, this is great because we're going to have a lot of Abilenians who are extremely excited about it, but at the end of the day it also keeps you from experiencing Abilene. And so how do you think about moving forward from this point? How are you planning to compete with that? How are you planning to, are you going to change things? Is it going to be marketing? Is it going to be product offerings? What are you thinking about currently?
Yeah. So what we think about currently is consistency. So as we've expanded, we now have 3 locations, and one of the things that we've really learned with especially adding the 3rd location is it's really difficult to manage your consistency. Whether that's in your policies and procedures, in your training, in just maybe even sometimes your day-to-day scheduling, trying to hone in on our consistency is at our forefront right now. It's really important to us. We're looking at it heavily. We're trying to circle back and look really deep into our company and find where are we inconsistent, where are we inefficient, how do we change that, and let's dial that in first before we do anything else. And then we can look at the marketing side, the product side, any other thing that may come up, any expansion opportunities or anything like that. But the consistency is a pretty big focus right now.
So as you guys, are you considering expanding more as well in the future? Or are you wanting to kind of keep it to the 2 to 3 locations?
I guess it kind of depends on who you ask.
Gotcha.
If it's me or Courtney, as you expand or as we've expanded, there's growing pains, and you need to make adjustments quickly or as efficiently as you can. And so we're not opposed to expanding. We're not necessarily actively trying to expand. It seems like we do have something maybe in the fire right now, but at any given point in time, maybe that's not going to be a thing. Expanding it's challenging on a lot of different fronts. And so as far as having additional locations, it seems like we wouldn't be running to do that at this moment. We really want to focus on what we have, and maybe really kind of look into the roastery a little bit more. That already exists, we already have it. Building on top of that would be a form of expansion, and so that's kind of where we're at these days.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. So local businesses contribute more to the town than people realize until they're gone. What do you think that it is that having a local coffee shop adds to kind of the feel or the culture of a town?
I think that, I don't know specifically about your local coffee shops, but I think that any local business, it's going to add to like the soul of the town. It helps the community. It's part of the community. And so I guess from the coffee shop side, you're going to have something exciting, something to, whether that's on occasion or on a daily basis, and you can go down and you can experience at a lot of the shops here in town, ours included, is something that is unique, fresh, something that brightens your day. And so it's something to look forward to. And I think that can build happiness in individuals, and then the community on top of that. And it can just, but like I said, it's part of the soul of your community are these local businesses.
Yeah, I would imagine that. I think most of the ways that people interact with a town honestly ends up kind of relying on a cashier at a restaurant or at a coffee shop or at a bookstore, wherever it may be. That's typically, I mean, it's very rare that someone probably is going to go and just like walk down the street and say, I'm going to meet a stranger today. It sounds like a great option. Or, you know, I kind of think of the reclusive remote working community, the stay-at-home mom community, the ones who, I mean, the only reason to kind of go out, usually the way that you're going to interact with other people is going to be through a shop. It's going to be through a business. And so whenever they're choosing local, they're kind of choosing an individual and to have a real interaction with someone rather than with a nameplate or maybe a uniform that kind of makes them fit in. So how much do you kind of think about customer service when it comes to like the way that your customers are interacting with your staff versus maybe the consistency of the coffee? How much do you think the customer service plays in?
It's at the top of the list. It's arguably the most important aspect of what we do. We interact with people. Our baristas interact with people on a daily basis. Oftentimes, we're the first people that they see. You know, if you're getting your morning coffee from us, and so customer service it's very important. We not only do we want to produce a quality coffee, and obviously through the drive-through platform, you want it to be efficient. But you want them to leave with a pleasant experience, you know, without taking up too much of their day. And so understanding your customer base is important. Knowing who they are, we see a lot of the same people every day, or our baristas see a lot of the same people every day. And at times we can make or break their day. If we do our job wrong, then they may just have a bad day. You know, it might set them down the wrong path to have a undesirable day. It's sometimes that happens. That's the nature of business. Sometimes you have those shortfalls, and then hopefully you can learn and grow from them. But we do focus on our customer service, and I think that the community knows that, the local community knows that, our customer base knows that.
It's a fine line when it comes to friendly customer service. There's a weird difference between, oh, I'm going there because that person likes me, to I'm not going there because that person talks to me way too much.
Yes.
I mean, there's just no clean way of determining. But you definitely kind of have a mental checklist whenever you're like, okay, I can't handle that today.
Yes. Yeah. And there's definitely some businesses. Perhaps some of the chains that you've spoken about really try to harp on the customer service side that they think that people value. Yeah. And so a lot of that is reading the individual, as opposed to like, well, what does our manual say that we have to do? What does our corporate office say we have? What do we have to say? And so it's way more in depth than that. There's so many layers to individuals, and so reading what that is in the morning. Maybe they don't want to talk to us at all, and that's fine.
Right.
Maybe they do want to have a conversation. Maybe they want to tell us how their day is going, and we're happy to listen to that. But we also want to respect those boundaries of, okay, we don't want to dive into what you have going on maybe too much. Yeah. You know, we don't want to cross that into that gray area, but we want to make sure that they're getting a good quality service.
Excellent. What do you think that maybe consumers or customers kind of get wrong about your business, or maybe their expectations about coffee shops?
So coffee specific and related to our company specific is that the coffee industry is wide and vast. And I think that there's a good percentage of a customer base that visits drive-through coffee that may be familiar with some of the chain coffee and some of the names that are associated with drinks, and doesn't necessarily cross over from shop to shop. Yeah. And so that, like,
you have a lot of people asking for Fenties.
Yeah, that's fine. It
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. You can call it whatever you want. A 20 ounce, a large, a venti. It's not going to hurt our feelings
I need
at
a
all.
huge cup of coffee right
I'll take the biggest you got. And I think that some of it is more like the names of things, right?
Gotcha.
So a caramel macchiato is like what a customer might expect that to be because of their experience at a chain is not technically what a caramel macchiato is. And so
Like, why is this such a tiny drink?
yeah, right. And so
I needed this to fill a backpack. Like,
Right.
I was putting this in my camel bag for like a day long
yeah, why
hike.
why is this in a 4 ounce cup?
Right.
Why I wanted a latte.
Right.
And so there's lingo and there's just names of drinks that I think kind of fall into that category. Was your question more directed towards that specifically, or are you kind of asking in broad about what do consumers maybe not fully understand in like how a small business may operate?
It can go to the second one as well. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so some of what we've seen on that is and recently, which is interesting, is I've heard people talk about or maybe having the thought pattern that a small coffee shop, for example, like why are you priced more? Like why is it more expensive to go there? It should be less expensive. It should be cheaper.
Because they have no idea what volume is.
Yeah, and so
How that goes,
so that would just be like the fundamentals of economies of scale.
Yeah.
We don't have the same buying power or purchasing power as the larger corporations, and most mom and pop shops don't have that ability, and so that when you're looking out how you're going to price things, you have to cover that cost, and so that's kind of how that goes in there.
There is an interesting value conversation that goes along with
yes,
you're choosing an authentic local business
yes,
for an experience as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's kind of this association that if it's a large corporation or if it's this like really brandished and stylized name brand of something, that it's nicer.
Yeah.
And
right.
so whenever their prices are lower on certain things, like, oh, what a steal! Like this is they're in a way setting the price for an industry,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not how a normal business can operate. And
right.
it's
Yes.
not that. I don't know. I think local businesses get this a lot, where it's almost like this chase to the bottom of like, hey, I have to match these lower prices,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's killing me,
Mm-hmm.
because I just have to do a certain amount. And it's just fundamentally wrong. It's not what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we live in that world.
Yeah.
Our shop, we live in that world 100%. And so we haven't even had a price increase in 4 years.
Really?
We're about to have a price increase soon in the next week and a half.
Okay.
And
I'll cut that out. It's going to be 20% decrease. Everything's on
Yeah,
sale, especially in a week and a half.
And you can keep it
Yeah.
in. That's fine. This is just the reality
Right.
of so the last 4 years, everything has gone up in price.
Yeah.
And we just did our best to eat it. And when we have, but we've reached the point where we just don't have a choice. We have to go up. And so, everything from, green coffee, which is the coffee that we get from the farm before we roast it, that's doubled in the last 4 years. And so,
Wow.
it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It matters. And so we have to bite the bullet and increase a little bit. But back to your point on value, if you're looking at a drink from us and you're looking at a drink from a chain, you're going to, in my opinion, our opinion, is you're going to get a way better value from us. Not just a perceived value, but like a technical value. So an example would be if you go to a chain and you get a grande iced drink.
Yeah.
Their cup is likely going to be a 16-ounce cup, so it'll hold 16 ounces of product. And they're going to fill that with ice first. If you get an iced drink, they're going to put 2 shots of espresso in there, and then they'll fill the rest of it up. So how much product are you actually getting for that price? I don't know. I guess you'd have to strain it out to figure that out. With us, for the same drink, 16 ounces on an ice drink, we size 4 ounces higher. So we put we'll put 3 shots in, we'll put the rest of the product in so you get 16 ounces of product, then we'll throw ice on top of it. And so if you're trying to do a price comparison, you may think that we cost more, but if you break it down, we actually cost less.
Yeah.
And you're getting a better value. Not just more product, but you're going to get a better value from our espresso.
Yeah.
That's a technical
You're
side.
also getting an artisanal
You're getting
roasted product
yes,
versus a mass-produced oily bean.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say that an oily bean or a darker roast bean is bad or anything like that.
Right.
I'm just saying on a technical basis, the quality of the bean is going to be better. It's going to be roasted very meticulously, and we're going to care about that product. And not that they don't care about it, but they definitely, they're doing things on an industrial level, and it's just, I would imagine it's hard to do that artisanal roast at that level. I don't know. But
for all of the, I don't know, brand attacking for anything that's processed or mass produced, that's kind of happened culturally and kind of in the health scene in maybe the last 5 to 10 years.
yes.
For one reason, that just doesn't seem to be affecting global brands like that. Where it's like, hey, this is about as processed as you can imagine. Can I get 3 of those? Thank you so much. I don't know. It's kind of wild, but I am looking forward to when you incorporate that into your marketing campaign for sure. Of just a deep dive into exactly what you guys are doing for people.
Yeah.
Well. As your business has grown, how has y'all's roles changed? Mm-hmm. Has it, what's been going on different?
Yeah, so when we took over Big Country Coffee, I was in the Air Force. Okay. And so I was, I guess, full-time Air Force. And so I did that for our first 4 years of owning the company. And so I would do coffee stuff in the morning, and then I would leave and go on base, and I would do my Air Force duties in the evening time, and I did that for 4 years. And so I worked from the beginning, just behind the scenes on the business side of things, and then as I started to transition out of the Air Force, that's kind of moved into the wholesale roasting, that aspect of the business. For Courtney, she was managing Big Country Coffee before we took it over, and she continued that role for maybe a year and a half, 2 years, and then we had our first child, and so there was a maternity leave of sorts that took place there. And so I would say that in the beginning, she was pretty heavily involved on the barista side, and then that kind of ebbed and flowed over time as we've built our family. And now she spends a lot of time with me in the roastery and on the operational side of the company. And so I guess that's kind of how it's developed over the last 8 years.
Wow, that's awesome. Any lessons that you might have for a person trying to build a local business like yours?
Yeah. Our success or perceived success or whatever that may be is like 100% due to the teams of people that we have around us. So that's family, it's friends, it is our staff, it is our leadership team, and it's taken us a really long time on the business side to build and hone in on that leadership team, and it's changed over time as it will for any business. And I would say that a lot of that success comes directly from their inputs. We would not have 3 locations and a roastery if it weren't for their efforts and everybody that's been with us for the last 8 years. And so if you're looking to, open a small business, I would be pretty focused on building a team or teams around you, and knowing that would be a pretty important, or for us, it's very important. And then I would add on to that, you need to be prepared to work a lot. We work every day of the year. The company is closed for 3 days out of the year. We're working on those days. Whether it's quick messages or emails, there's always something happening. There's always something going on. And of course, that's probably maybe specific to, we're in food service and quick serve restaurant, so we may be a little bit more busy than different industries. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't owned a business in another industry, but yeah, I would say be ready to work a lot and to put in a lot of effort, and to know that your success is 100% built on your inputs and what you do. So that'd be kind of my advice for anybody that's looking to have a small business.
Yeah, it's an encompassing thing.
It is.
You don't, it doesn't get off of your mind.
No,
it just becomes a new layer of your thoughts, like while
Yes.
you're stirring a pot, basically. Like, okay, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with this lead. Like, it's just very much of like, you just kind of have a running commentary and, kind of obsession that you just have to build out. But no, that's awesome. It's great advice. Looking 5-10 years down the road, what's success going to look for you guys?
I think we kind of touched base on that a little bit earlier with the consistency. If we're able to, wherever we're at, if we're able to do it consistently across whatever the platform looks like at that time, then that's what success looks like. If we're able to produce the same product over and over, the same experience over and over, then we've done it correctly. Awesome. As far as what you might be hinting at is like, is there more locations in there, or what, because we've had a growth pattern. Again, I don't know if there is more, but regardless of how many, if there's more or less, as long as we're consistent and we are showing up for our customer base, then I would say that we've been successful.
Perfect. Anything you're excited about right now? Except for the price increase.
Except for yeah. Well, I mean, we're not even excited about that. Anybody that's been, everybody that's been looking at prices over the last 4 years, it's not exciting no matter where you go.
Right.
So, and we hate to do it.
Yeah.
But what are we excited about? Well, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think we're mostly excited about? Barista Goods. I knew. Okay.
So what was that?
So we recently launched a second company called Barista Goods.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm not sure if we talked about that when we had first met. Okay.
Yeah. Tell me about Barista Goods.
Yeah, so...
I'm glad that you brought that up at the end.
Yeah.
Didn't exist until 3 minutes ago.
Yeah, right.
All right.
How much time do we have? Okay, so we created a sister company called Barista Goods.
Okay.
That's Breesta Goods. And that's a play on barista.
Right.
And it has been in the works since, 8 years. Technically, maybe a little bit longer, and it is something that has developed out of, it's a food manufacturing company.
Okay.
And we have, over the years, in our roastery, we just experiment with all kinds of things. Yeah. So we currently make the majority of our powders that we use in-house, and those are shifting over to Barista Goods. And so now those powders, like frat base, matcha, chai, cocoa, pumpkin chai, those will all be under the Barista Goods brand. Okay. And we now offer those wholesale to other coffee shops. And so we're focused on the barista or the coffee industry, creating and providing products that support coffee shops and baristas mostly within like the food manufacturing space. Yeah. There may be a little bit outside of that as far as like, I don't know, small tools that might be able to help the barista flow, the bar flow later. But essentially, over the last 8 years, we've developed and made our own powders. We've done the same thing for a number of other products that we don't even serve out of our shops. And so we've developed a line of oatmeals, we've developed a line of kombucha, we've developed just a handful of other things that we don't currently offer at Statesman, mostly because our menu is massive already.
Yeah.
And then of course the manufacturing side of it it's challenging.
Sure.
And so we've developed those over time. And so I don't know if they'll ever enter into the product line of Barista Goods, but that was kind of the idea that formed was, well, we have these powders, we have all these other products. Our wholesale customers for Statesman wholesale some of those powders from us, and that was again organically over time during the development. Some of our wholesale partners, like, hey, can we get your cocoa or your matcha? Like, yeah, absolutely, you can. And so then that was like really obvious, like, whoa, there's a pretty big demand here.
Yeah.
And so
that's awesome.
So that's kind of, yeah. So we're excited about that, and it's a pretty big challenge it's already a challenge to juggle the 3 shops and the roastery, and then we're throwing in another element there.
Right.
And so it
sounds like it's product though of the other things that
it is.
Can kind of be its own market.
Individually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what we're focused, or we're excited about now.
So what does timeline look like that for you guys?
Well,
as far as offering already, or
we're offering already. Yeah.
Wow.
So that began October of 25.
Okay.
And so that's available now.
Is that also available to consumers through the Statesman window, or is that specifically just a wholesale to different providers?
Right. So that's a really good question. We're in a hybrid of that right now.
Okay.
And so we have a certain amount that is like the Statesman line, and then a certain amount that is the Barista Goods line. And by halfway through this year or the end of this year, it'll all phase over to, or the overwhelming majority will phase over to Barista Goods. Currently, the Barista Goods line is directed towards coffee shops, and so the volume at which you purchase is the entry level for like you want a bag of chai, that's going to be 3 pounds.
Right.
And so we are looking at
not the individual serve.
Yeah, not the at home.
Yeah.
Not that we want to not serve
Right.
that community. We do intend to, but these things just take a lot of time.
Yeah.
Time, effort, energy, capital, all of those things.
Absolutely.
And so it is on the list for Barista Goods to move in that direction.
Awesome.
And it may be possible that some of that is offered through Statesman. So right now you can get our Statesman cocoa and matcha in 12 ounce containers.
Very nice.
Through the shops or through our website.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So where are the 3 locations of your stores for people to come visit you?
Yeah, so we are on Buffalo Gap Road. That's our flagship location. That's 5001 Buffalo Gap Road, and we're pretty close to Walgreens.
Okay.
And our Treadway location, we're right next to Catfish Corner on South Treadway. And
Abilene staple.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you were here in the 90s, you're like, I could still go for some tartar sauce. Yeah.
Yeah, please do, and then come by and see us.
Yeah.
Or stop by first, either way. And then the South 14th location is it's the Old Fox Coffee, and that is
in the Hobby Lobby.
That is in the Hobby Lobby parking lot.
Perfect.
Yep. So next to Schlotsky's.
Okay.
And so that's where that location is.
Awesome. And can people find you on social media or anything like that?
Yep. Yeah. So our socials, you can find us just Statesman Coffee be our handles, and you can find us on our website, statesmancoffee.com.
Okay. Perfect. Any last minute thing before we get going?
I don't think so. Just, just a big thank you to our customer base. Thank you to you for having us on here. And just a thank you to the community.
Awesome. Well, thanks for doing this.